Yo, listen to me. You didn't come this far to fall apart now. You didn't cry all those tears, climb all those mountains, and survive all that pain just to get here and doubt if God's got you. You worried about your bills? God's bigger than your bank account. You stressed about your future? God saw your future before you were even born. I need you to stop worrying and start believing. Because I'm here to tell you, don't worry, God will take care of you. You didn't come this far to doubt God now. Think about that. All the nights you cried yourself to sleep. All the mornings you got up even though your heart was heavy. All the times you kept going when everything in you wanted to quit. That wasn't luck. That wasn't your strength alone. That was God. So how is it that now, when things get uncertain, when life throws another curveball, when the pressure increases, you start doubting whether God is going to come through? No, you didn't survive all that to get here and fold. You didn't climb through the fire just to melt now. You are here because God carried you, and he's not about to drop you now. See, it's easy to trust God when the bank account is full, when the doors are opening, when the relationships are smooth, and the path is clear. But true faith, real faith, that shows up when nothing makes sense. That shows up when it's dark, when it's lonely, when you got more questions than answers. That's the moment when your belief has to kick in and say, even if I don't see it, I know he's still working. Look back for a second. I mean, really look back. Remember that situation you thought would break you. Remember the time you thought it was over. Maybe it was that breakup, that job loss, that betrayal, that sickness, that season of depression, when you didn't even want to wake up. And yet, here you are, you still standing, still breathing, still fighting. Don't forget how far God has brought you just because you're uncomfortable right now. That discomfort, that pressure, that's not punishment. That's preparation. God is stretching you, shaping you, and strengthening you. The same God who was with you in the last valley is the same God who's going to lead you through this one. But the enemy wants to distract you. He wants to magnify your fear so you forget your faith. He wants to make the mountain look so big that you forget who moves mountains. He wants you to live in anxiety and doubt and panic because he knows that a worried mind can't focus on God's promises. That's why you have to fight back. You got to remind yourself every day, if you have to, that you are not alone. God is with you. And if God is for you, who or what can stand against you? Listen, I know it's hard. I know what it feels like to sit in silence and wonder if your prayers are even being heard. But let me tell you something. Silence doesn't mean absence. Just because you don't hear him doesn't mean he isn't moving. He's moving in ways you can't see, protecting you from things you don't even know are coming. He's lining up the right people, the right opportunities, and the right timing. So don't panic when it feels slow. Trust that it's strategic. God didn't bring you here to leave you hanging. He didn't invest all that love, grace, mercy, and power into you to watch you collapse. You think he kept you alive, kept you covered, kept you going all this time just to let you fall now? No. He's still writing your story. This chapter might be painful, but it's not the end. So what do now? You keep showing up. You keep believing. You keep walking by faith, not by sight. You stop feeding your fears and start feeding your faith. You speak life over yourself. You say, I've come too far to doubt him now. You say, he didn't bring me this far to leave me. You say, even if I don't see the way, I trust the one who makes a way. You hold on to your faith like your life depends on it, because it does. And you stay rooted in his word, grounded in prayer, and surrounded by people who remind you of who you are and whose you are. You keep moving forward, even if it's one small step at a time, because listen to me. God is not finished. He's not done blessing you. He's not done using you. He's not done growing you. And he's definitely not done taking care of you. So don't let this moment of pressure make you forget your history with him. You've seen him come through before. You've seen him make the impossible possible. And he's not changing now. You didn't come this far to doubt God now. Stand firm. Keep the faith. Your breakthrough is closer than you think. God doesn't abandon what he creates. That truth should sit deep in your soul. Let it sink in, not just as a nice quote or a feel-good phrase, but as a reality you can stand on when everything around you feels uncertain. You were not an accident. You weren't born by chance. God designed you. He shaped you. He breathed life into you. And the same God who took the time to create you with intention and purpose is not going to walk away from you when things get hard. When God made you, he put his fingerprint on your life. That means there's value in you that the world didn't give and the world can't take away. People might walk out. Opportunities might pass you by. Seasons might shift. But God doesn't abandon his creation. He doesn't start something he doesn't plan to finish. Now, I know sometimes life feels like you've been left behind. You pray and hear nothing. You cry and feel alone. You try to do right and it seems like things only get worse. You look around and wonder, where's God in all this? That silence can feel like abandonment, but it's not. Sometimes God is quiet while he's working behind the scenes. Sometimes he's waiting to see if you'll trust him even when you can't trace him. Because faith isn't proven in comfort, it's proven in crisis. Think about it. God didn't leave Joseph in the pit. He didn't leave Daniel in the lion's den. He didn't abandon David in the wilderness. And he didn't leave Jesus in the grave. What makes you think he's going to walk out on you now? The enemy wants you to think you've been forgotten. He wants you to think you're alone, that you messed up too much, that it's too late for you. But the devil is a liar. God doesn't toss his creation away because of failure, fear, or fatigue. He doesn't give up on you because you stumble. In fact, the Bible says he is near to the brokenhearted. He binds up wounds. He restores. That means when you're at your lowest, that's when he's leaning in the closest. If you've ever created something, art, music, a business, even a relationship, you know the kind of care and effort that goes into building something that matters to you. How much more care do you think the creator of the universe puts into the masterpiece that is you? God's not just watching from a distance. He's invested in your story. He's the author, and he doesn't leave the book half written. And maybe right now, it feels like your life is stuck in a difficult chapter. But don't you dare close the book. Don't let the pain of the present convince you that there's no purpose ahead. Just because you don't like the page you're on doesn't mean God's not still in control of the story. He finishes what he starts. He develops what he designs. You are still under construction. And God doesn't walk off the job. Sometimes the most painful seasons are the ones that are preparing you for the greatest breakthroughs. God isn't just interested in your comfort. He's committed to your growth. And growth often happens in the dirt, in the dark, in the places where you feel like nothing is working. But underneath it all, roots are going deep. Foundations are being laid. Strength is being built. And just like a seed that's buried, you're not being buried to die. You're being planted to rise. So stop believing the lie that says God is finished with you. If you're still breathing, he's still building. If your heart is still beating, he's still working. He hasn't abandoned you. He hasn't changed his mind about you. You are still chosen, still loved, still called. When you can't see the way forward, remind yourself, God created me. God called me. God has covered me. And God never walks away from what he created. So hold your head high, wipe your tears, straighten your back, and keep moving. Not because it's easy, but because you know you're not doing it alone. The one who made you is with you, and he's not going anywhere. Because God doesn't abandon what he creates. And he created you. Worry is the enemy of your worship. You can't be consumed with anxiety and still be full of praise. The two don't exist in the same atmosphere. One will always push the other out. Worry suffocates worship. It takes your focus off of who God is and places it on what you're afraid of. It turns your attention away from God's power and fixates it on your problems. And if you let worry run your mind, it will run your life straight into the ground. Worry is loud. It wakes you up in the middle of the night with questions that have no answers. It plays worst case scenarios in your head like a broken record. It makes you feel like everything is urgent, everything is on fire, and it's all on you to fix it. That's not just stress, that's spiritual warfare. Because worry is more than just fear. It's misplaced faith. It's believing more in what could go wrong than in what God can make right. When you worship, you shift the atmosphere. Worship is not just singing. It's declaring with your heart, your mouth, your life, God is bigger than what I'm facing. It's saying, I don't understand what's happening, but I trust the one who does. That's power. Worship makes hell nervous. Because when a child of God chooses to praise instead of panic, that's proof that the enemy didn't win. But the enemy knows this, which is why he attacks your peace so aggressively. He wants your mind so cluttered with fear that you can't even hear from God. He wants you checking the bank account every 5 minutes, replaying conversations in your head, worrying about things that haven't even happened yet. Why? Because the more time you spend worrying, the less time you spend worshiping. And the less time you worship, the more distant God feels, not because he left, but because you stop looking in his direction. Worship isn't about pretending everything's perfect. It's not about hiding your struggles or ignoring your pain. It's about showing up with all of it. Your questions, your brokenness, your uncertainty, and still choosing to lift your hands, still choosing to speak his name, still choosing to believe that God is good even when life doesn't feel good. That's real worship. The truth is, your situation may not change immediately. The bills might still be due. The diagnosis might still be real. The relationship might still be broken. But when you worship, something in you changes. Your spirit gets stronger. Your faith gets louder. Your perspective gets higher. You start to see not just the problem, but the promise keeper standing over it. When Paul and Silas were in prison, they had every reason to worry. Chained up, locked down, no clear way out. But instead of stressing, they started singing. And in the middle of the night, with no guarantee of deliverance, they lifted their voices. That's the kind of worship that breaks chains. That's the kind of praise that opens prison doors. Not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, spiritually. You might be going through a storm right now, but don't let that storm steal your song. Even if your voice shakes, worship anyway. Even if your heart is heavy, lift it up anyway. Because every time you choose worship over worry, you declare, my God is greater. My God is faithful. My God is still in control. You can't control everything, but you can control your response. You can choose to turn your worry. When anxiety starts creeping in, stop and say, God, I trust you. When fear starts to rise, let your praise rise even higher. That's how you fight back. Not by panicking, but by praising. And here's the beautiful part. God doesn't need your perfect worship. He just wants your surrendered heart. He's not asking for performance. He's asking for presence. He wants you to bring your whole self, messy and all, and just be with him. Because in his presence, there's peace. In his presence, fear has to leave. In his presence, worry melts under the weight of his glory. So the next time worry knocks on your door, don't open it. Instead, open your mouth and worship. Speak life, sing truth, declare his goodness. Because worry can't survive in the same space where God is being glorified. Worry is the enemy of your worship, but worship is your weapon. Use it. Faith isn't about what you see, it's about what you know. This is where most people get it twisted. They think faith is only strong when everything is going right, when the path is clear, when life is adding up. But that's not faith. That's comfort. That's convenience. Real faith is not built on what you can see. It's built on what you know. Deep down, even when nothing around you makes sense. Faith is waking up to chaos and still believing God is in control. It's facing disappointment and still saying God is good. It's walking through the fire and trusting that somehow, some way you're going to come out of it not even smelling like smoke. That kind of faith isn't rooted in feelings, it's anchored in truth. And that truth is this: God is who he says he is, no matter what the situation looks like. You only have faith when things are easy. You don't have faith, you have preference. Faith shows up when your heart is broken, when your plans fall apart, when the people you counted on let you down, and everything you hope for seems delayed or denied. That's when real faith steps in and says, I still believe. Think about the people in the Bible who walked by faith, not sight. Noah built an ark before it rained. That wasn't logic, that was faith. Abraham left everything he knew to follow a promise he couldn't even see. That wasn't security, that was faith. The woman with the issue of blood pressed through a crowd just to touch Jesus' robe, believing she would be healed. That wasn't certainty, that was faith. They didn't have all the answers. They didn't have the full picture, but they had enough of a word from God, enough of a glimpse of his character, enough of a fire in their spirit to move anyway. And that's what faith does. It moves even when your mind says, don't. It steps forward when fear says, stay still. It trusts even when you have every reason to doubt. Walking by sight is exhausting because sight is limited. Sight is based on facts. Sight says the doctor said it's incurable. Sight says the bank account is empty. Sight says they walked away. But faith says God is still a healer. Faith says he owns the cattle on 1,000 hills. Faith says if they left, they weren't meant to stay, and God's got better ahead. Faith sees beyond the surface. Faith sees purpose in the pain. Faith sees growth in the delay. Faith doesn't ignore reality, but it chooses to believe that God's reality is greater than what we can see with our eyes, because we walk by faith, not by sight. That's why some people look at you and don't understand how you're still standing. They don't get how you're still smiling, still pushing, still praising. It's because your vision isn't based on what's in front of you. You've got spiritual vision. You're not looking at the now, you're trusting in the not yet. You're not depending on what makes sense. You're holding on to what God said. And that's what gives you strength when everything around you feels like it's falling apart, because you know something. You know God is faithful. You know he's a provider. You know he makes ways where there are none. You know he doesn't lie, doesn't lead, doesn't fail. You know what he brought you out of. You know what he healed you from. You know who you used to be and who he's making you into. So even when your eyes see obstacles, your faith sees opportunity. Even when your eyes see closed doors, your faith sees divine protection. Even when your eyes see delay, your faith says God is working. That's why you can't be led by your senses. You got to be led by your spirit. Because what you see might shake you, but what you know will sustain you. So don't wait for it to look perfect before you start believing. Don't wait for everything to line up before you start trusting. Start now, believe now, walk now, even if it's foggy, even if it's unfamiliar, even if it's scary. Go, move, step out. Because faith is not about what you see, it's about what you know. And if you know God, then you already have all the evidence you need. God's delay is not God's denial. That's a hard truth to hold on to when you've been waiting, when you've been praying for something that hasn't come to pass, when you've been trusting God for an open door, but all you keep running into is silence or rejection. It's easy to think maybe he said no, but more often than not, he didn't say no. He just said not yet. And the waiting room is not a place of punishment. It's a place of preparation. You see, we live in a culture that expects everything instantly. Fast food, fast Wi-Fi, fast results. But God doesn't operate on our timetable. He doesn't rush his process to meet our preferences. And thank God for that. Because sometimes what we're asking for isn't what we're ready for. You may want it now, but God is protecting you from a blessing that, if given too early, could crush you. That delay is not rejection, it's refinement. Think about it. Just because you plant a seed today doesn't mean you see a harvest tomorrow. There's a process beneath the surface. Roots are growing. Foundations are being laid. The fruit takes time to form. And the same goes for your life. You might not see what God is doing, but that doesn't mean he's not doing anything. His silence doesn't mean his absence. His delay doesn't mean he forgot you. Sometimes the pause is the very thing shaping you into who you need to become for the promise that's on the way. Remember Lazarus? Mary and Martha called for Jesus, told him their brother was sick. They expected him to show up immediately to heal, but Jesus delayed on purpose. And in that delay, Lazarus died. To the sisters, it looked like a denial. It looked like failure. But Jesus told them, this sickness will not end in death. It is for God's glory. And when Jesus finally arrived, it wasn't too late. It was right on time for a greater miracle, resurrection. That's how God works. He's not just trying to meet your expectations, he's trying to exceed them. You're asking for healing, but he's planning a resurrection. You're praying for a door to open, and he's building a whole new house. You're asking for survival, but he's preparing you to thrive. But he needs you to trust him through the delay, because how you wait matters. Waiting is not passive. It's not sitting still and twiddling your thumbs. Waiting in faith means worshiping while you wait. It means preparing like the door is going to open. It means staying faithful, consistent, prayerful, and hopeful, even when you don't have the confirmation. The delay is where your character is tested. It's where your patience is stretched. It's where you decide if you're going to trust what you see or trust what God said. And let's be honest, delays can be painful. They can feel like disappointment after disappointment. You might be watching others get what you've been praying for, and that comparison can creep in. But don't let someone else's blessing make you doubt your own. Their timing isn't your timing. Their path isn't your path. God hasn't forgotten about you. He's not skipping you. He's staging you for something that's bigger than what you've been asking for. Sometimes God delays because he's aligning the right people, the right places, and the right conditions. Sometimes he's delaying because he's developing something in you. He sees the whole picture. You see a puzzle piece. So don't throw in the towel just because the timeline doesn't match your plan. Your job is obedience. His job is outcome. If you're in a season where things feel slow, where you've been asking and not seeing, don't lose heart. Delay is not denial. Delay is not failure. Delay is not punishment. It's grace. It's preparation. It's God's way of saying, what I have for you is too important to rush. Hold on. Keep praying. Keep trusting. Keep building your faith. The promise still stands. The vision is still alive. And when God does it because he will, you'll realize the delay wasn't a setback. It was a setup. Because God's delay is not God's denial. It's his divine design. You are never alone. That's not just a phrase to comfort you. It's a truth that should anchor you. Because when life hits hard, when people walk out, when the silence in your heart feels louder than anything around you, you need more than good vibes or motivational quotes. You need to know deep in your soul that God is with you. Not just when you feel him, not just when everything is going right, but always in the middle of the storm, in the center of your confusion, in the darkest valleys, you are never alone. Loneliness is a liar. It whispers that nobody sees you, that nobody cares, that you're forgotten. It creeps in when the room is empty or even when it's full of people and your soul still feels hollow. That lie tries to get you to believe that even God has turned his back on you. But the truth is, he never left. You may not feel him, but he's there. You may not hear him, but he's speaking. You may not see the evidence, but his presence is constant. The Bible doesn't say you'll never face hardship. It says you won't face it alone. God didn't say you'll never walk through the fire. He said when you walk through the fire, I will be with you. That's a promise. When you go through deep waters, he's there. When your heart is breaking, he's near to the brokenhearted. When you're standing on nothing but faith and empty hands, he's standing with you, holding you up. When you don't have the strength to keep going on your own, and let's be real, there are moments when it feels like no one understands. You try to explain what you're going through and the words fall flat. People say things like, just pray about it, or God's got a plan. But those words don't always hit right in the middle of your pain. But here's the good news. God doesn't just hear your words, he feels your pain. Jesus walked this earth. He experienced betrayal, rejection, loneliness, and suffering. He knows what it's like to cry, to be misunderstood, to be left alone by people who were supposed to stay. So when you cry out to him, you're not talking to a distant deity, you're talking to someone who gets it. Sometimes we think if we're really spiritual, we won't feel lonely. But even Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane asked his closest friends to stay awake and pray with him. And when they fell asleep, he was left alone in his agony. On the cross, he cried out, "My God, why have you forsaken me?" Jesus felt alone so he could redeem that feeling in us. And because he took that isolation, we never have to live in it. The enemy wants you isolated. He wants you disconnected. Because when you feel alone, you're more likely to give up. But God wants you connected to his presence. He wants you rooted in his word, plugged into his promises, aware that he walks with you in every season, even when no one answers the phone, even when the room is silent, even when your prayers feel like they bounce off the ceiling. He's there. And the proof isn't always in the feelings. It's in the fruit. The fact that you're still standing, still breathing, still believing, even a little bit. That's evidence he's been carrying you. That strength you didn't know you had, that comfort that came out of nowhere, that peace in the middle of the chaos, that's not random. That's God. So don't let your feelings write the story. Don't let the silence convince you of something that's not true. You are seen, you are known, you are loved, and you are never, ever alone. God is walking beside you, ahead of you, and behind you. He's covering you. He's fighting for you. Even when people leave, God stays. Even when your strength fades, his grace sustains. Even when the road gets long, his presence lights the way. You are surrounded, even if you don't see it. So lift your head, wipe your tears. You're not forgotten. You're not abandoned. You're not by yourself. You are never alone, and you never will be.